Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Pre-PA Guide. So a while back on my Instagram I made a post about finances versus like a physician assistant versus a medical doctor, and a little bit about investing. The reason I did that, like the motive behind it, was to show you primarily the power of compound interest. So compound interest is a thing where it's the idea that every 7 years, if you are investing and you're getting a 7 to 8% return on your money is going to double every 7 years. So let's say you have $500,000 at age 20, right? So at age 27, your money is going to double in 7 years. So you're going to have $1 million. So if you can invest $500,000 at 20, which is unlikely, but move it back to maybe 30 and it's a lot more likely. Vice versa, let's say you have $1 million at 30. At 37, you're going to have $2 million. But once again, that depends if you have a constant investment rate, like 15% is like the go-to. And that the stock market is returning, on average 7 to 10%. That's with inflation adjusted. Now, what I'm going to go over today is how a physician assistant could become a millionaire by the age of 40. So I have some calculations here, and I'm going to go through these on my phone. So the average PA salary right now, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, I think for 2020, last year, so it's up a little bit, is $115,000. So we take $115,000, and if you want to be a millionaire by the age of 40 on this salary, you would need to invest 32% of your pre-tax income, which is double what they recommend for the 15%. Now, this would put you in what we call the FIRE community, or basically the retire early movement, which is early on in your life you want to invest as much as possible so you get the benefits of the compound interest. Because even if you stop investing, your money is still going to make that double every 7 years. So like I said, if you get $1 million by 30 and you don't invest anything else and you don't touch that money, your money will be at $2 million at 37, and you can see by age 50, how you be a multi-millionaire. So if you were to invest 32% pre-tax of $115,000, that would be $36,800 a year, which basically comes down to $3,100. So we're going to put the initial investment as zero, saying that you're starting off from nothing. Monthly contribution is going to be $3,100. Once again, the 32% of 115. Length of time in years, we're going to do 15. So that's if you started at age 25 and you went to age 40. So you want to be a millionaire by age 40. We're going to start at age 25, which is fairly average for a new graduate from physician assistant school. And we're going to do an estimated interest rate of 8%, which is conservative because the average return is 7 to 10% with inflation adjusted. So the stock market returns about 10.5% per year since its inception. That's the S&P 500, the standard for the stock market. Now, inflation has been around 2 to 3% per year. This year was a little bit higher at 4%, so we're just going to say 8% as it's fairly conservative. We're going to calculate that. And there you go, $1 million at age 40 if you had started at 25. Assistant. Now we're going to talk about what you would invest at $3,100 in a month. So the contributions for a 401k from an employer is $19,500, which comes out to about $1,625 a month. Then you would go to your Roth or a traditional IRA, individual retirement account, as well as your HSA. Now a Roth IRA, the max is $6,000 for a Roth or a traditional. So that comes out to about $500 a month. Now HSA is $3,000 a year. So that comes out to about $250. Sorry, I think the Roth is $6,500. I did these numbers earlier, so the monthly for HSA and a Roth or a traditional comes out to $875. Then you could put the rest, after those tax advantaged accounts are maxed out, into a taxable brokerage account. I like to use Robinhood personally. You could also make a Vanguard account and just use their taxable brokerage service. And I would put, to get to that number, you basically put anything that's left that you need to get, so $600. Then you'd have the $3,100 per month. So before we go any farther, these numbers do not count your spouse's income. So what some people do when they're part of this retire early community is they invest 100% of one of their spouse's income, and the other one is relied on for expenses, or half of that income is relied on for expenses. So you would be able to reach these numbers even sooner if you had a spouse. Another thing it doesn't consider is debt. The average PA student does have debt, but that varies widely, so we're not going to take that into consideration, and it would make the numbers harder. And also there's bonuses. So this kind of can, there's positives and negatives. There's things where the numbers are going to actually be higher, and there's things where the numbers are going to actually be lower. So that's why I didn't take these into consideration, because I feel like they balance each other out in a way. Now, when you want to take into consideration, well, first let's go over the taxes. So this right here is the site that I like to use for tax brackets, nerdwallet.com. So the tax bracket, you could see if you are a average salary, median salary physician assistant, is going to be around 24%. The majority, 50% are going to be above this, 50% are going to be below this. So if you have a gross income that is below $115,000, you're most likely going to be, if you subtract your tax advantaged accounts, that's going to place you in the 22% tax bracket. It's going to be, taxable income is going to be below $85,000. As you can see there. So even if you weren't, and you took the 25% tax bracket, you'd be paying $27,000, almost $28,000 in taxes. Whereas when your taxable income becomes $86,000, after you subtract your pre-tax contributions and you take that 24%, it's $20,000. So you're saving almost $7,000 a year by just investing in these taxable accounts. Income. So let's say you wanted to make as much as you did, $115,000. You would times. So now we're going to take $115,000 and times it by 25, and that is the number that if you wanted to make $115,000 a year, if you wanted to keep up your salary as a PA, you would need about $2.8 million. And that comes out to the 115 when you do the 4% withdrawal rate. So now here we're going to take what you would have in those 15 years, which is about $1 million. We're going to times it by 0.04, which is the withdrawal rate that you could take out per year, and you're only taking out the principal. You're not touching the interest, so your money is going to continue to grow. So this is the number that most people go by, either 4% or 3%. 3.5% if you want to be very conservative, but 4% is also a good number to go by. So that's going to be about $40,000, and that's what you're going to have to live off of if you had about $1 million invested. So you would live off that $40,000, which is going to increase over time. If you had $1 million at 40, it would take you about another 10 years to get to that 2.8. So you'd be able to retire at 50 or a little bit before 50 if you went off of all these numbers. So it'd be additional 10 years. And then at 60, you would have about 6.4 million because you times it. Another 7 years at 67, you would have 12.8 million. So you would be able to, at the age of 65, you would be a multi-millionaire, or what is sometimes referred to as a deca-millionaire, above $10 million. So, you know, it's definitely a lot of work, and I don't think this is viable for everybody. I'm not trying to get the idea across that it's viable for everybody. You know, everybody has to support their families. That always comes first. And the profession is not about the money. Don't get into medicine for money. You hear it all the time. Don't do it. This is just to show you, again, the power of investing and compound interest, and the power of consistent investing. And just to give you an idea of what to invest your money in, how to utilize tax advantaged accounts, and you know, the main lesson is to invest. Don't just get your paycheck and spend it all. You know, invest your money, plan for your future. If you don't plan, you plan to fail. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So make sure you start investing as soon as possible, and take out as little debt as possible, so you could take all that money that you would be paying for debt and putting into investing. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you got some insight into the investing world. I know it's a little bit different from what we normally do. In future videos, I'm going to get back to particularly medicine and pre-PA, but this is just something I wanted to go over because it is an interest of mine. So I'll see you guys in the next one.